Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again. It's been a while, but we're doing another Man Dates with Guitar Greats, and the person we're going to talk to today is somebody that I have talked about quite a lot on this channel, because personally I'm a huge fan of his playing style, his music, so it's a pleasure to be able to talk to him. We've been hooked up via True Temperament Fret, so we will talk about that, of course, but we will talk about many other things. So I would like to say a huge welcome to Mr. Per Nilsson. How's it going, man?
Good.
Hey!
Good to see you.
Yeah, you're here.
Thanks for having me, man.
No, absolutely my pleasure. As I say, big fan myself, and I know that many of the people that follow this channel are huge fans. You're someone that crops up time and time again, and you're one of those perfect examples of a modern player that is the embodiment of teasing us fans, because what we'd love is constant releases from you, just endless new music, but we don't get that. We get to have the music teased out over very long periods of time. It's been like what, it was 4 and a bit years since the last Scar Symmetry album,
something like that, and it's because I want to give the fans a tantric experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're giving it to us like Sting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because then the release will be so much sweeter.
Yeah, hopefully. In the meantime, all we have to really enjoy are, well, aside from all the great recordings that already exist, but you're uploading lots of video clips to Facebook, right? So people get to see new things and get excited. You just put up, what was it? You testing out the 4-in plugin?
Yeah, the NTS.
Yeah, that's a cool piece of kit. Very cool piece of kit. But anyway, why don't we talk a little bit about you before we talk modern stuff. So you're out in Sweden, right? What's your history? How long have you been playing?
I live in the middle of Sweden. I turned 45 yesterday. So
okay, well, happy birthday.
I'm getting there. I started playing when I was 10, and been doing it ever since.
Yep, basically. Good. That's what we like to hear. There must be something in the water in Sweden. It really is one of those things that as the years go by, I just find that more and more of my favourite musicians and favourite bands, they all come out of Sweden. I don't know how this happens, but the concentration of great musicians in Sweden is astonishing. Americans are always talking to me about, there's just something about you British guitar players. There's a big scene in Britain. I'm like, man, no, you need to look at Sweden. That's where all the guys are. Yeah, so big music culture where you are?
Yeah, I guess so. And I think there are a couple of things that have been important to me, and I mean, especially my generation, but I'm sure it's about the same thing now. And it's like when you grow up in Sweden, you have access to like super cheap music education. You can start taking music lessons for really cheap. And also we have like the government-sponsored rehearsal spaces.
Oh wow!
So it's easy to start to get a rehearsal space, and all of that, and so it's easy to start playing, to actually learn from a teacher, and then you can form a band when you turn 14 or so.
Yeah.
So and that's what most Swedish musicians did,
right?
Including me.
Is it still like that?
It is. I mean, things are getting harder.
Yeah.
Because, and I guess that happens everywhere in the world, that culture is and music is not appreciated the way it should be. But
yeah. Oh, that was the first thing I was thinking when you said that, because essentially you're talking about like socialization of music education, which is such a lovely idea, but I don't know what the economy is like over there right now, but over here the first thing to get cut is the first thing to go was music, unfortunately.
And I believe that the economy is probably better than ever, certainly better than it was in the 70s and 80s, and
right.
And it's just I think the maybe like the political narrative is a lot different now.
Yeah. Oh, let's not go down that route. That's a horrible thing to
no.
That us versus them thing. Cool. So, well, actually, that's quite interesting, and it makes a lot of sense when people listen to your playing, because you sound like somebody that has a good idea about what they're doing, right? So, is that a long history then of education that you've had? Did you go down the education route for a long period of time, qualification-wise, or was it a little bit of education and then a lot of personal study?
A bit of both. I started taking lessons when I was 10, So I started reading early. Even if I'm now a poor reader, I got into it early
Yeah.
at least. And the town where I was growing up, they have a like strong jazz tradition. So they have a big band that
Yep.
I haven't heard them in a while, but they used to be really, really good, like lots of good players. And all of the players in the band, they were teaching at the local music school. So even if I wasn't very interested in jazz music, I got to learn all of
Yeah.
the theory and a lot of songs and stuff. And so I went there for 6 or 7 years, and then I went to the gymnasium, as we call it in Sweden,
Right.
when you're between 16 and 19, and I went to the music gymnasium, and I learned even more stuff. And then I went to a private school for 1 year when I was 23, where I studied like jazz theory really hard, and that's it. So I didn't go to like the universities. I don't have a degree or anything. And even if I had several really amazing teachers throughout the years, I still feel that like most of what I know is like sort of self taught, or I got it from like watching instruction videos or transcribing stuff myself, and
Well, those are both subjects I really enjoy: instructional videos and obviously transcribing. Transcribing is the way. You have a great instructional video yourself, right? Ska guitar.
Yeah.
That's getting old now, isn't it? It's even got Ibanez on it.
Oh yeah, I think it came out in 13.
Yeah. That's one I'd absolutely recommend to people. It's one that yeah, I think I got that one after I started doing my instructional videos that you must own. So I'll have to go back and do another one of those, because that genuinely is one of those ones that if you're a transcriber, if you have the ability to transcribe, the combination of that video and putting in the work to really dig in and really get the nuance of some of the stuff you're doing, yeah, absolutely amazing. So take that opportunity, people that are watching now. It's a great video. Yeah, cool. So
Yeah, and you did a video of one of the
the
improvs.
Mixolydian Flat Six. Yeah. Which the first time I heard that, I was just absolutely floored by it. More so, it's weird. I don't think I've listened to that since I put the video up, but still vividly those phrases that you start that you play on there, the very strong melodies. That's I feel obviously one of the aspects that modern guitar players always seem to be lacking, that ability to play just a strong melody. It's so easy to get caught up in the technical side of things, and that Mixolydian Flat Six thing, just beautiful. Some A7 vocabulary, bit of D minor, beautiful. Yeah, absolutely love that. So go and check that video out, guys. But obviously, I mean my video, but yeah, Ska guitar, brilliant video. Cool. So you caught me off guard by saying that.
I actually didn't transcribe that much music. It's more of keeping an analytical ear open, and constantly listening to music and trying to understand what you hear, and it's I rarely bothered to like transcribe long solos.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've found a lick or something that I didn't understand, and it was always like more of a that I didn't understand like the musical concept.
Yep.
What was happening. That was much more intriguing to me than to learn like how do they finger this arpeggio. I wanted to know how the arpeggio worked in the harmonic context.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to point out, because obviously my main source of income is transcribing. It's what I do. So people would, and I push transcribing as a skill that all people should work on. But I don't necessarily recommend sitting down with a full album and going, right, let's transcribe this entire thing. I remember talking to Sean Baxter many years ago, and he talked about just going around the house, doing housework and having music on, and anytime there was something that caught his ear, he would write down just a time code. This was the track, this is the time code, and then he'd come back to that and just do that one little thing that had caught his ear. And I think that getting into transcribing can be a very daunting process. So you need it to be manageable, and just jumping and doing a little bit, this little part that interests me, rather than a 2.5 minute guitar solo where only 4 bars of it is interesting. You're not doing yourself any favors by making hard work for yourself. So I wouldn't recommend that. Transcribe the things that you enjoy. On the note of transcribing, yeah, I've obviously transcribed a fair amount of your licks, and yeah, in terms of your influences, I hear a ton of keyboard in the way you phrase, in the way you play. It sounds very much like you are really into keyboard players. Now, I could be totally wrong on that, but I would really be interested to hear about some of your bigger guitar influences and influences outside of guitar.
Mm-hmm. Well, my first big guitar hero inspiration was Yngwie, like
Another Swede.
for many people. Yeah, and he released his first solo album on my 10th birthday. I saw that because it was my birthday yesterday, so I saw that popped up. So that was an early inspiration, even though all of it was, beyond my reach.
Yeah.
But then after that, I mean, it was like all the players from bands I enjoyed. I listened to Iron Maiden and Accept, like all the heavy metal bands from the mid 80s, but not all of them. I wasn't like super crazy about all of the guitar playing. It was more of the band thing. So it was mostly Yngwie that was like really attracting my ears. But then came all the Shrapnel guys.
Yeah.
That shred movement.
The hard to avoid one.
Yeah, I started listening to that when I was 16, and I started the Musikgymnasium.
Yep.
And that was at the same time when I got really heavily into practicing, when I started playing like all day, every day. So, and there was 3 or 4 years there where I was practicing all the time. I didn't go to school. I didn't go, to the regular classes. I only went to the music classes. I played guitar all the time, and I had a hard time listening to music that didn't have great guitar solos. So it was for a bit there, I like lost touch of what music really is about. Yeah. And so it was like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Shred guitar, like this solo doesn't have sweep arpeggios. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So, but then after that, I got back into actually doing music.
Yeah.
And then after the shred years, I started listening to all kinds of music, but guitar-wise, I got into Allan Holdsworth really heavily.
Yeah.
And I mean, I studied some jazz theory, but I was never a big fan of traditional jazz. Like, I never listened to swing or bebop or any of that. I didn't care about that, but I love improvisation.
Right.
And Holdsworth, he was the king of improvising on the guitar, on any instrument.
Yeah. It's well, I was going to say funny that you mentioned Holdsworth. It's not funny at all. It's fitting. Like, he's such an obvious influence in your playing, and for me, Holdsworth is one of those players that, well, obviously a very polarizing player. You either get Holdsworth music or you don't. I'm actually somewhere in the middle. I love his playing. Not so crazy on his composing. For me, I really enjoy Holdsworth when he was playing on other people's music. So that crazy outside sound, but in an inside context. Obviously, albums like Heavy Machinery, I love that album. It's a great album. When I listen to your playing, I don't know. I like to think that if Holdsworth was about now, he'd be a huge fan, because it's got that, tip of the hat to all of the crazy outside stuff. But you can't listen to like your stuff with Scar Symmetry and think of it as anything other than solid, I hate the word pop when talking about metal, but very, let's go with classical harmony, like just great harmonic function, and you're playing all of these, ripping lines over the top of it. So anyone that misses the Holdsworth influence in your playing, or is a fan of your playing and hasn't dug into Holdsworth, I think a great place to jump into there would be Heavy Machinery. What about you? What are your favorite Holdsworth recordings?
I really love the Secrets album.
Yep.
Anything he did in the 90s or second half of the 80s, I guess. I think he took a big leap in his playing and also in his guitar tone and production when he put out the Sand album.
Right.
And it's funny that I talk about guitar tone because that album is mostly syntax.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of tracks with amazing guitar solos. There's that Bradford Executive song. That's basically a long guitar solo with like the chord progression just keeps evolving. It's like I don't think there's any repeating parts, and it's like the most beautiful thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
But I agree with I mean I hear a lot of people say that what you said, that they enjoy listening to Allan when he plays over other people's music, when it's like more diatonic, less outside. And I agree to some extent. And I really like the Heavy Machinery album.
Yep.
Because it's really cool. It's cool to hear him like improvise over vamps.
Context that you'll find yourself in. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just a modal vamp.
Yeah.
And because then it's like you can almost understand what he does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I love a lot of his compositions as well.
I know what you mean. Like I like his compositions. I guess the way you've put it there, where you say hearing him play over modal vamps is you having an understanding of what he's doing, because it's a context that you're likely to play in. I always describe it to my students when he's playing over his stuff as like he's playing all this crazy vocabulary over all of this crazy outside harmony. So really he's playing inside over outside harmony, and I'm fascinated to hear his playing and how it affects music that I'm going to play over. Because if I'd steal a bunch of Holdsworth licks, they're not going to sound like Holdsworth licks because I don't write harmony like that. But I know what you mean. I love 16 Men of Tain as well, because it's just full of beautiful chord progressions. Like his chord playing is second to none. But unfortunately, I've been poisoned by the bebop and the swing. Like that's I like the blues, and I need some of that in my stuff. But enough about me. Enough about Holdsworth. So keyboard players, is that instruments outside of guitar? Have they influenced you heavily, or is that just me reaching?
No. I like a lot of keyboard players. And going back to Yngwie, when I listened to his early albums, I mean, I was blown away by his playing. But interestingly enough, I was always a little bit more drawn to Jen's keyboard solos.
Yep.
It's like, especially when they did like dueling things, I was like almost like, the keyboard is winning.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it's easy when you've got 10 fingers, but I think when you're playing next to Malmsteen, nothing's easy.
Yeah. And also, I've always really preferred players who are clean, And I was never a big blues guy, and I was never into punk music or anything. I always wanted like music to be more precise and clean and not too distorted and and that's what you can, like, if you play leads on a keyboard, everything is super clean.
Yeah.
There's no fret noises, none of that, and you always have like perfect intonation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a subject, right? perfect intonation. I feel I should try and
Great
use that as a way
segue.
to springboard, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's springboard. Let's talk about things like that, because actually, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, one of the main reasons we've hooked up to talk is obviously True Temperament. I have a beautiful guitar here with True Temperament on it. You've got one there. Yeah, that's your Strandberg, the Singularity. A beautiful guitar. I nearly bought one. Just because I wanted True Temperament frets, to be honest. Oh, you frozen? Oh, you're back. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So tell us about the evolution. Tell us about you moving from Ibanez to Strandberg, and when it came to designing a Strandberg, what it was that you were seeking in a guitar.
Well, in 2013, when I put out my instructional DVD,
Yep.
that was also the time when I started going to the trade shows, to the NAMM show, Musikmesse, and I got to know a lot of guitar brands, and I my deal with Ibanez, and I had been playing Ibanez since I was 20. And I had a deal with them for many years, but that deal expired, and the guy I was working with, he was leaving the company, and I was sort of starting to look for something else.
Yep.
Because I love a lot of Ibanez guitars, but it's a big brand, and I'm a tiny little fish.
Yeah, sure.
And I got to know Ola Strandberg through some mutual friends, and he just offered to build me a guitar. And he said, "I love your playing. I want to build your guitar. No strings attached, aside from the strings." And he said, "You can have anything you want. I just want you to play one of my guitars. Even if it's in the bedroom, just." And I thought that was really, really cool to have him be that excited about my playing, and like none of the business talk, none of that. So then I started asking him, can I have True Temperament frets? Sure.
So that was one of the first things that you asked.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can I have a swirl finish? Sure, you can. And then I was like, I don't really use the bridge pickup a lot. Can I have 3 extra frets instead? Sure, you can. So I was, super happy about it.
Yeah.
And then he built me the guitar. And also he has
the Endure neck.
The Endure neck.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you see it, but it's this weird neck where you have the
flat surfaces. Yeah.
It's called like an asymmetrical trapezoid thing. And anyway, the edges between the surfaces on the regular Endure neck, they are like the edges are really
sharp.
Mm-hmm. And this one they are rounded off a bit, so it's like it's like an Endure neck that moves a little bit towards the C neck.
Right.
So and this is the best neck I've ever played. It's like absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so the guitar just turned out one of the best guitars I've ever played. And we were both happy about it, and we just decided to like make it a production model, and and then I went and started playing them exclusively.
Yeah. And it's only available in 7-string, isn't it, right?
Yeah, right now.
Right now, yeah. We'll come on to that right now. But yeah, so for people that are interested in that, the thing I'll say about that particular guitar is the price point on it is insane. It is, for a guitar with True Temperament frets on it, it is the best option on the market. It is extremely well priced. As of this interview, it's listed on the site for $1,400. That's insanely cheap for what you're getting. So for anyone that is looking to go down the route of trying out True Temperament, the Singularity is probably the best option on the market. I really do believe that. It's great guitar. So you've done really well on that. Did you have a relationship with True Temperament then before you did the Singularity?
No, I hadn't even tried a guitar with true temperament.
Oh wow, okay.
So it was purely a decision of faith.
Yeah, wanting to experiment. Well, the reason I asked that is because you've got the 3 extra frets on that, so 27. Their system is very much a case of this is what we've designed, this is what we have, so this is what your option is. I'm going to be interviewing those guys at some point soon to talk about that side of things, because as far as I'm aware, and actually you've broken the rules on this somehow, which again we'll come on to, but they're designed for Fender scale length, right? So if you were going to have a Gibson scale length guitar and you'd want true temperament frets on it, where the frets would need to align would be ever so slightly different. So yeah, having 27 frets is that's how do I put this? That's not an option that everyone gets. So you've done well on that front. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had to. I think they do all of the what do you get, the calibration. They do everything like manually, like one fret at a time.
Yeah, their level of attention to detail is insane. As we why don't we just go on to it? Why don't we talk about that 8-string prototype that you've got knocking around? So you're playing with Meshuggah. We'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end. But you need an 8-string. Of course, you need an 8-string. Imagine trying to do that gig with a 7. So you need an 8-string, and you talk to Ola, and you want true temperament frets on it. What happens?
Well, the first thing when I got the gig, I think I called Ola up before I called my wife. I was like, "Hey man, can you build me an 8-string?" Sure. What's going on? Well, it's a pretty big thing going on.
Pretty big gig, yeah.
So yeah, and he had just put in ordered a batch of guitars from the factory.
Yep.
And he had ordered a few extra. So he told them to take two of them, two Bodens out from that production and make a swirl finish, and then send them to Sweden to finish them.
So that's how they were done. They're done there and then sent to the guys at True Temperament to do that neck for you?
Well, it was the Strandberg guitar shop that they had in Umeå at the time.
Right.
They did some of the True Temperament work.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I ask is because that by the looks of things, that 8-string prototype that you have is it's multi-scale, isn't it? So,
it is.
So as far as I'm aware, and True Temperament may correct me on this, that's the first time they've ever made a True Temperament multi-scale option. I've not seen that anywhere else, which is
no.
Yeah.
I think it was Alan Marcus, a friend of mine, US guitar player. He had the first 8-string with the multi-scale True Temperament.
There we go. I've been corrected.
So when I won, they already had the calibration.
Excellent. Yeah. So
for that scale length, I wanted a shorter scale length because that one is 26.5 to 28.
Right.
And I'm used to playing 25.5.
Yeah.
And I don't have super big hands.
Yeah.
But they only had that calibration, and I wanted True Temperament, so well that was it. So,
it's better,
but now I got used to it, and I play that guitar a lot. So whenever I go back to the 7-string, it feels like I play a ukulele or something.
Yeah, I mean, how long has it been with Meshuggah now?
2 years.
Yeah, that's it's both. It's a really odd one because everyone obviously thinks of Meshuggah as being Frederick's band, and of course I've actually not seen them with Frederick because I got into them in the last few years, so I've only seen them with you playing guitar, and it's a hell of an experience. Any idea of what's happening there? Is that are you going to be there for a long period of time? Is Frederick has he spoken to you about what the future might hold for the band?
Honestly, I don't know, because I was asked to do one tour, and then we did that tour, and I was like, they asked me, "Can you maybe do another one?" And now I'm doing all the tours
Yeah.
this year, and for all I know, that might be the end of it.
Yeah.
But Fredrik, he has been building his own studio, and I haven't been there, but from what I've heard, he's building like a super crazy big studio complex.
Yep.
And have you seen some of it?
I've seen the pictures. Yeah.
Have you seen that amp cab switching system?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. So it's the most outrageous thing I've ever seen.
who does things like?
Yeah.
It's like he wants it's like an analog axe effects or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely nuts. Yeah, but he is that's him, isn't it? He's a lunatic. Yeah. It must be a Swedish thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, so and I think that's like probably a lifelong dream for him to do that, and I guess he's also the kind of guy who like is gonna do that. He really has to only do that. And
It's the dream for all of us, right? We all want a bigger studio.
oh yeah, and I guess like finally he had the time and the resources to pull it off, and he's working on his new solo album.
Yep.
Which is really cool, because I'm a huge fan of the one album that he put out.
Yep. It's a really weird album. I like it. Weird in a good way. Yeah. So on the note of that 8-string, is that something that we're likely to see as an option for the rest of the world? Might we get to get our hands on something like that?
I think so. Yeah, we have Strandberg is making some. I think they are gonna switch the factory where my guitar is, for their own like logistical reasons. It's gonna be produced in Japan, I think. So like there's a lot of stuff that needs to be ironed out.
Yep.
So, but we have an idea that we're gonna put out a 7-string, an 8-string, and at some point I would like to add a 6-string.
Do you ever play 6 ever?
Rarely. I mean, I would love to.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. I mean, playing the 8-string and trying to do like tapping arpeggios.
Yep.
With the distorted tone, that's just like a shit fest.
Yeah, no, that's a 6-string. That's interesting. I kind of I was just going to say, I wonder if I was literally just going to say, I wonder if True Temperament have got a 7-string, system sorted out. But of course they do. I'm staring at one. So that's what I really want is 7-string multi-scale. I think that would be what I'd like to get my hands on.
Then you should stay tuned for the updated version.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. That's exciting. Yeah. So I guess the other question regarding True Temperament is: have you tried out their new system? They're moving on to like a version 2, the stainless steel thing. Ola is the first guy to be using those, and it's a different method of installation. It shouldn't require any fret dressing, and they look interesting. Have you tried them?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Do you know anything about them?
No.
Okay.
I don't. But I don't know what kind of wood I have in this guitar.
Yeah, I like that. Guitar player, more so than
I'm a like a tech idiot.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, obviously, like I say, I'm going to be interviewing those guys, so I'll talk a hell of a lot more about that. It's definitely for anyone interested in the True Temperament system, more so for builders, I think. I think anyone that currently works with True Temperament deserves a pat on the back, because I can imagine from a logistics perspective, the idea of having to build guitars with those frets on must be quite daunting. So anything that makes it easier for guitar builders is a good thing in my books, and it might mean that the rest of the world might get a bit more True Temperament rather than on. How many production models can I think of a True Temperament? There's obviously your one, and there's Matthias's one. Is that it? I think in terms of production models, I think they're the only ones that are really doing anything. So more True Temperament, suits me. Cool. So, all right, let's wind things down a little bit then. So, there's your guitar. We talked about your guitar and the exciting tease of something 7-string related that I'm going to enjoy. What's happening regarding your own music? What are you working on?
I'm working on the new Scar Symmetry album, which I have been working on for a few years now. It was that thing with the Meshuggah that sort of got into the way of things for a bit.
Pesky Meshuggah.
Yeah. And I mean, people have been bugging me about the new Scar Symmetry album a lot, and which I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a case of me like really wanting to do other stuff for a while. So it's like for long periods of time, I just let the process rest and wait for a bit. But like we have all of the songs are written. Nearly everything is recorded aside from solos and some keyboards and backing vocals. So
okay, this is exciting. It sounds like we might see something in 2019.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Okay, so last question I'll give you then before asking about where people can check you out. I should have prepared you for this one. Normally I would, in an email beforehand, I would say, right, I'm going to ask you this, but it slipped my mind. So you're proper on the spot with this one. I like to do on my podcast, on the Guitar Souls podcast, I like to do an album club series where people get to talk about an album that they recommend people go and check out that they might enjoy. And so I'm asking you, can you suggest a favourite album that you would like people watching the channel to go and check out, and then they can come back and give me their thoughts on? It can be anything. Could be metal, could be fusion. We had Rusty Cooley on, and what did he suggest? He just suggested a Mark O'Connor violin album. So, that's cool. So yeah, give us an album. What are you listening to? What would you encourage people to go and check out?
I really liked. I actually haven't listened to this album in many years, but I love it, and it's the Adiemus 2 album. Have you heard about this? Adiemus? It's a British composer. His name is Carl Jenkins.
Carl Jenkins, okay.
Yeah, and it's a real cool album. It's like a symphonic orchestra with ethnic percussion.
Okay.
And it's two women singing, and they are singing like I don't know what to call it. It's like it's like lots of really cool harmonies, and it's like made up language,
right?
And it's so beautiful. It's like amazingly beautiful.
Those are the exact kind of recommendations I'm looking for. Something that, people probably wouldn't expect.
I was like that. Maybe I should recommend an Allan Holdsworth album, but everyone knows I worship Allan, so they can just, listen to Allan as well.
Yeah, of course.
But check out Carl Jenkins' Adiemus.
Okay.
The first couple of albums I've listened to a lot, and he used to play with Holdsworth. He played, I think he played like clarinet and keyboards in Soft Machine, maybe.
Okay.
Like in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then he went on to write orchestral music.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one out because it wasn't what I was expecting, and that's what we always need, something that I'm not expecting. Okay, cool. Where can people go and check out more of you? How can they support you? What is the best way for people to show you how much they love you?
I don't know. Come to a show.
Have you got shows coming up?
Yeah, we're going on 28th of March. We're going to Finland with Scar Symmetry, and the week after we're going to Japan, early April, and then late April we're going to South America with Meshuggah, and then we're going to the US with Meshuggah, and then in August I'm doing a festival tour with Meshuggah.
Okay, so nothing in the UK for me to go to.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's even worse living up here in Scotland. Like UK tours tend to just be London, or if you're really lucky, they might go to Manchester, but they're never coming north of the border, unfortunately.
Where are you at?
I'm just outside Glasgow. in Scotland. And for anyone that's been to Scotland, they know that it's just a beautiful country. But yeah, no one seems to want to come and play gigs here. I was lucky enough, like Sim
I
and the
think we
X,
played.
they came.
We
but-
played Glasgow a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you will have. People do get. It's not like we get no gigs up here, but
We played in 15.
Yeah. Well, with Scar Symmetry, Meshuggah.
Scar Symmetry.
Okay. Yeah.
We opened for Epica.
That is the kind of thing that I will be, keeping my ear to the ground for now. And yeah, anytime you're in town, expect to see me there. Cool. So please do, guys, go and check out Meshuggah's website and see when they're on tour. Go and see them if you get the opportunity. I caught you guys at Download, and it was, obscene. Obscene for two reasons. The music was great. It was also really hot and also really busy. Loads of people there, and people. I'm not such a fan of people. Check out Scar Cemetery, and please do go and see those guys on tour if you get the opportunity, because I'm a big fan of both bands, and I'm sure you'll be blown away by Pears playing. So any closing statements, any messages for the lovely people that are fans of you?
Sure.
And not only did you play it, but it was perfectly intonated.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Sorry
good.
about that.
Okay, cool. Right, let me just do my closing thing. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Big thank you to these people over here, some of my supporters over on Patreon. They keep videos like this coming to you. So you guys rock. Thank you very much. Just keep me on screen for a few more seconds, guys. You're awesome. Thank you. Thanks, guys. You rock. I'll see some of you guys for a live stream soon. And one more time, thank you very much, Per, for dropping by. And we'll keep in touch. And anytime you have anything on, maybe we'll have you back at some point. Maybe even get you on the podcast, which is a lot more heavy metal, a lot more death metal, a lot more brutal death metal.
Right on.
I say brutal death metal, like I can't stand brutal death metal and technical death metal and slam, but Mike, my podcast host, loves that stuff. So anyway, much love, and let's wave and say goodbye to everyone. Thank you. Bye, people. Bye.